Don Lemon claims U.S., quote, does the very same things to protesters as Iran, which slaughtered 30,000 in 3 months. I just must have missed the part where America killed thousands of its own citizens for protesting the government. We're going to check in with just the best journalist in the world, really. When you think about it, he's just so stunning and so brave. He should have gotten a million Pulitzer Prizes by now. And this is, of course, the former CNN star Don Lemon, who is now an independent journalist, also facing federal charges. We discussed that a little while ago, but that's not even the main story here. So set that aside for a bit. Don Lemon just did an interview with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who, let's be so for real, we all know you're running for president in 2020. Just announce already. Stop playing this little coy game of will he, won't he. It's not cute. We all know it. Just stop. Run for president, do your big one, make your announcement. Anyway, Gavin Newsom is doing this. He's having people on his podcast. He's going on podcasts. He's kind of laying the groundwork. And his latest guest is Don Lemon, who's become a progressive activist and journalist who has a ton of followers on YouTube, got a pretty big following online. And he just said something that really, really bothers me. I hate when progressives do this. It irks my soul. And in order to make a certain point, maybe they're against the war with Iran. And there's lots of people I respect who are dead set against the war. And that's not what bothers me. But I hate when people whitewash evil regimes just to try to make a point dunking on America. We talked about Joy Reid doing that, the former MSNBC journalist who's now cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, even more than she was when she worked there. We talked about that, I think, last week or maybe before that. But here's the headline about Don Lemon's comments doing the same thing. Here's from the Daily Caller. Don Lemon claims U.S., quote, does the very same things to protesters as Iran, which slaughtered 30,000 in 3 months. Former CNN host Don Lemon likened America to Iran on free speech issues, including killing protesters during a Friday episode of This Is Gavin Newsom. Guys, I don't know, maybe I've just been asleep, but I just must have missed the part where America killed thousands of its own citizens for protesting the government. Anyway, let's just watch the clip. Maybe Don Lemon is more reasonable than it sounds from the headline, right? Right? No? Okay. All right, let's watch the clip.
Reporters have privilege, it's like an attorney. And so you have to be very careful about those things, and we cannot lose those things. Otherwise, we are going to lose the First Amendment. We're going to lose the freedom of the press, because part of that is having sources and being able to be trusted by those sources, that you're not going to give any information away that they give you. Reporters go to jail over refusing to give up a source. And then usually it ends up working out for them, saying they don't have to, and they get out, but still. So we cannot lose those norms and those traditions.
So I'm kind of with him so far, though I guess the context of where he's yapping about all this is maybe debatable, but just at least in the abstract, what he's saying so far vibes with me. We're about to get to the delusional part, though, because with Don Lemon, there's always a delusional part. He's one of those people that can start off sounding normal and then it gets insane real quick.
Traditions, because otherwise we're no better than a country that we're at war with right now, and we're saying, that Iran shoots protesters. Well, so do we. And we're over there because Iran, jails reporters or, doesn't have free speech. And that makes us no better than them if we are acting and doing the very same things that they're doing. Then what sort of moral authority do we have to be able to be there and, in a war and, quite frankly, killing people?
Sorry, but this is just despicably ignorant. I think what he's referencing when he talks about killing protesters is the killing of Alex Preddy in Minnesota. That's not at all remotely comparable. I think the use of force in that case is highly dubious and should absolutely be investigated and potentially prosecuted, and we could debate that. But that's like a situation between a law enforcement officer in a heated situation, one-off incident that went wrong after somebody tried to intervene. It's like, meanwhile, the Iranian regime killed thousands of protesters just over the last year. And like, I don't think we have confirmed data. It's hard to get data from this kind of thing, but the numbers vary anywhere from the thousands to the tens and tens of thousands of people that were killed. And so the idea that that is remotely comparable to a couple instances, one-off instances where interactions went wrong with law enforcement and individuals were killed in America is just absolutely asinine, because meanwhile, millions and millions and millions of people in America went to the No Kings protest and did their big one and protested Trump and are protesting ICE every single day, and they're allowed to because it's a free country and we have a First Amendment. And I'm not saying we're perfect. I certainly am not saying we have we perfectly uphold free speech in our First Amendment. We don't, and I criticize it all the time. But to even make the comparison or suggest like we're somehow at all on a level footing with Iran is insane. It's just totally factually absurd. It's actually a massive insult to the people in Iran who are oppressed, to compare their suffering and put it on the same level as like a society that's largely free and has instances where it falls short, because you're actually downplaying and belittling their suffering, and you're doing PR for the regime, whether you realize it or not. And you can be against intervention, you could be against the war, that I can totally respect, but I can't respect people who whitewash the crimes of horrifying regimes. And that's what people like Don Lemon here are doing. And I just find it to be so despicable. I have no idea why Gavin Newsom would want to associate himself with such a figure. And I didn't watch the whole interview, just this one segment, but you'd think that that would be kind of a toxic brand to be tied to or to be agreeing with if you want to be elected by the general public. I don't think the general public is on board with Don Lemon's dark woke era. And yeah, I found it to be so typifying of the worst kind of media coverage. I mean, this comes, of course, I already mentioned this, but I'll just read a little more from the Daily Caller here, in the context where other media figures have said similar things. Former MSNBC host Joy Reid similarly compared the U.S. and Iran, but focused on women's issues and religion during a March 11 episode of a podcast. Quote, "We're marginally better and we're doing it for Christianity. They're doing it for Islam," Reid claimed. However, the World Economic Forum ranked Iran 143rd out of 146 countries in its 2024 Global Gender Gap Report, far below the US. Yeah, it's just like, how is this normal? How is this okay for ostensibly serious media professionals who are still in their independent shows and careers being listened to by hundreds of thousands of people? In Don Lemon's case, millions of people are tuning into his stuff, and they're making millions of dollars doing this, and yet they are so out of touch with reality and so irresponsible and reckless with their commentary. I don't know. I just would be embarrassed. I would hang my head in shame if a clip went viral of me saying something so absurd and so ridiculous. But I imagine they might do it on purpose. They might, before they go into one of these interviews, and this is just me speculating here. I don't know this to be true, but either they're really, really actually that dumb and they just yap and say this stupid stuff, or they're calculated and they know, oh, if I say this, it'll piss off conservatives online and they'll clip me up and I'll go viral, and they just don't care. Which to me, that's worse. But either way, it's not great. Like, the media is not coping well, especially I don't know what it is about this class of people who were once darlings of mainstream media networks and then leave and go independent and have some success, but then for whatever reason they get crazier, and you realize these networks were like, we thought they were bad. I've talked about Joy Reid and Don Lemon many times about the like ridiculous things they said as part of their network jobs or their terrible coverage back in the day, and then they leave and you realize those networks, as bad as they are, we're actually keeping them in check, and like their real unfiltered self is somehow worse, and that's almost impressive.